Paris unravels great news for Libyans. A total ceasefire between the rival political adversaries, presidential and parliament elections at the soonest possible time, disarming militant groups and reinstating fighters in civil life. But analysts warn that the road ahead, however, may be bumpy.
The concept of strengthening security in Libya and the unity of Libya's security forces remains a challenge. Libyans are tired of death and war. Nearly half of the Libyan population has left the country. Reviving the economy will be another obstacle. Distributing oil revenues is even more complicated, as is unifying the central banks, which are currently two. Libya also has 3 governments and 2 parliaments. All of this remains a challenge that they must resolve before the election.
It's also still not clear who will take the lead in preparing the country for elections. Earlier, Faiz al-Sarraj, the head of the Presidential Council, has announced a similar roadmap on his own, but the Eastern Parliament has rejected it. Khalifa Haftar, the head of the Libyan National Army, has then held massive reconciliation efforts among dozens of Libyan tribes, what was seen as efforts to counter Sarraj's movements. The Paris Agreement didn't clearly explain how the core of Libya's crisis would be resolved. General Khalifa Haftar and his Eastern Bloc want to marginalize the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamist groups from the political scene, while these Islamists don't want Gaddafi's former army general Khalifa Haftar in any prominent position. But that may be too late for them. Analysts say that Haftar's power has grown immensely in recent months.
There is no solution in Libya without Marshal Khalifa Haftar, because he owns the only unified Libyan power, which is the Libyan army. The rest of the other militant groups and brigades and mercenaries are very tiny in comparison, mainly because their resources of financing are being dried out since the GCC sieged Qatar. Sarraj is very weak on the ground. He's now trying to find himself a place in the next political life in Libya. This is with the support of the international community.
The Libyan National Army says it has liberated Benghazi and that it plans to move next to Sirte and Misrata, which will expand the territories under its control. Earlier this month, the LNA's spokesman Ahmed al-Mismari said that the army plans to enter Tripoli, either as liberators or fighters. So even if the Paris Agreement fails to succeed like the Skhirat Agreement, the LNA may move ahead with its earlier plan anyway. Adel EL Mahrouky, CGTN, Cairo.
And we can cross over now to Adel Mahrouky. He's joining me live from our Cairo studios. Adel, just how different is the Paris deal, though, from previous attempts at restoring Libya's stability? There has been a lot of international mediation there.
Well, definitely the main difference would be represented in the agreement of Marshal Khalifa Haftar, the head of the Libyan National Army himself, in the agreement, which guarantees the army's full commitment to this new agreement. And therefore, it is quite different than, for example, the Skhirat Agreement, which lacked such strong influence from the army's approval. That's one side for it. Also, Faiz al-Sarraj, who has been a productivity of and his presidential council, of course, a production of the Skhirat Agreement. Now, these are the main representatives of the rival factions in Libya, and this means that they are committed to push forward this deal among the rest of the Libyan tribes. And at least from the security aspects or the security concerns, the army will be there or should be there to maintain this political process and secure it as far as it is concerned, because now its leader Khalifa Haftar approves the political transitional process and hopefully elections by next spring.
Adel, would it be expected, though, that that agreement will enjoy wide grassroots support across Libya's political divide? Is it implementable?
Well, it is definitely a test, British, for the full commitment or the full support that the rest of the tribes have to their representatives or to their leaders. So it is a big test for Khalifa Haftar to show how influential he is in the eastern side of the Libyan territories, and how much popularity and support will he get from the tribes in these territories. On the other hand, it is a similar test for Faiz al-Sarraj, who has not been very successful in unifying Tripoli, as he still faces a lot of challenges, particularly with some rival governments in Tripoli that have been trying to maintain its security in the west. Even after the agreement itself, Faiz al-Sarraj told France 24 in an exclusive interview that that's the first time he spoke after the agreement, and he said that the agreement that has been approved by him and Haftar, General Khalifa Haftar with President Macron, he will take this agreement and it will be under consultation, it will be under negotiations with the rest of the political factions in Libya, which indicates that he's not guaranteeing a full approval from the rest of the Libyan factions, at least those who support him.
Right, Adel Mahrouky with that update for us there in Cairo.